Okay, gentlemen, so our topic for today is going beyond standard track and trace for material-centric supply chains. So the first question is, I'll go to you, Doug. What are some of the challenges that you see, or maybe misperceptions around what's happening with track and trace for material-centric supply chain?
Yeah, Greg, track and trace really has its origins in the past. It really grew up in pharmaceutical industries and then bled over a little bit into food and beverage. And the focus of track and trace really started with regulatory compliance. You know, being able to prove that you know what went into something and what came out and produce a batch record for what you had. And then the secondary purpose of track and trace was focused on when things went wrong, it made it possible for you to reasonably intelligently recall or pull back the materials that you've made. The problem domain has moved fundamentally. First of all, it's moved to every manufacturing process, not just the very rich pharmaceutical operations that could afford expensive systems to do track and trace. But the dialogue has moved to something completely different, which is you want to know about provenance. You want to know what's in this thing. Can I trust it? You know, what are the materials? And it's obvious in pharmaceutical and food, but it's actually important for any product that you care about. What's the provenance? And so traceability really becomes not just for the purpose of regulatory compliance. It comes to the essence of brand. It comes down to, is this trustable? Is this a great product? Is it differentiatable from what it used to be? And you want to be able to bring that provenance data as close to the consumer as you can get. And once major manufacturers are really putting that data in front of the consumer, everybody will demand it. So track and trace has been static for decades, solving a particular problem. And really, when we talk about material traceability today, we're looking and saying, we want to be able to do that for all industries, and we want to intelligently propagate the information so that you can look backwards into the supply chain and say, tell me everything about this. And it serves a very different business purpose. And one last comment, track and trace used to be done almost by definition, very manually, very human intensive, lots of recording of information, people typing into computers. I put this bag of material into the machine. True traceability should happen constantly, in real time, all of the time. And it should happen as a result of these smart devices and machines and stuff constantly making that data available, so that traceability, provenance, understanding how materials have moved and transformed through your supply chain is a deep thing that enables brand, enables better quality, enables better trustability, and prevents those recalls and pullbacks from having to happen in the first place. So it's really, the game has changed. So I personally hate the term track and trace because it refers to a yesteryear thing, which has been rendered redundant by what we can now do.
Jake, over to you. What are some of the negative things that can happen if you're not looking at something that goes further into this provenance that Doug just spoke about?
Yeah, Greg, the reality is for most industry verticals, they've had a knee-jerk reaction to the topic for years, which was unfortunately tied to thinking about it only in a context of product recall. Okay, so what they unfortunately missed was a very avid consumer movement that has unleashed that manifests itself in multiple ways. You've got an age of consumer that wants to know, for example, in apparel, that the provenance of the materials that went into the blouse or the dress or whatever that was produced actually wasn't tied to a country or a source location that's known for using child labor, right? That's a small example. You've got another set of consumers that are going, you know, Doug, I get it. You're old. You helped to develop some of these production line processes, but shame on you because I don't want to wait 6 years to find out the reason why the pub I'm in just gave me skunk beer. I want to be able to call up, figure out why the beer was skunk and know the answer on demand, right? Well, it was affected by the temperature in the warehouse of the distributor that's responsible for that pub. It was perfect at the point of production in the beer factory, in the first leg of transportation, in the final leg to the pub. But where it got screwed up was the distribution center that held